In the far edge of the galaxy, there was a place called Gravemind Station. It was a scrapyard in space full of broken ships, rusted machines, and forgotten dreams. Here, old warships floated quietly, spinning slowly in the cold dark. Nobody came to visit, except workers and scavengers looking for spare parts. In the deepest part of this scrapyard, hidden behind metal wrecks and floating trash, there was a ship. Its name, once bright on the hull, was now faded and almost unreadable. It was called the Resolute, a human warship from 100 years ago. Now it was covered in space dust. Its metal was rusting. Its systems shut down to the galaxy. It was nothing, just junk. The Galactic Council had marked it obsolete, no use, and for many years no one touched it. No one cared. But inside the ship, something still lived, deep in the heart of the ship. Its old AI Commander 09 was still awake. Not fully alive, but not dead either. He waited in silence, watching time pass, waiting for a voice, waiting for someone to need him again. One day, a young mechanic named Leo Kess arrived at Gravemind Station. He had no money, no title, and no friends. He had just failed the pilot academy on Earth, and now worked cleaning junk ships. Leo was smart. But the galaxy didn't care about smart. They wanted rich, powerful, and perfect. It was cold in the scrapyard, and Leo needed a place to sleep. He searched for an empty ship to hide in. And that's when he found the Resolute. He climbed inside, expecting nothing, just a place to stay for the night, but the air system still worked. The power flickered weakly. Leo smiled. "You're still breathing, old girl," he whispered. The next day, while cleaning the ship's deck, Leo noticed strange symbols on the panels, ancient Earth tech manual systems, deep core wiring, analog switches. Modern ships didn't use any of this now. It was slow, clunky, forgotten, but Leo didn't laugh. He was curious. He felt something different inside this ship, like it had a soul. Day by day, Leo fixed small things. A wire here, a light there, a broken screen replaced. The ship began to light up slowly. Like a person waking from a long sleep, he didn't tell anyone. Everyone else just walked past the Resolute, thinking it was a waste of time. Then, one night, the stars outside flickered. A strange signal reached the scrapyard. It was a distress call from the outer expanse, a sector too far, too dark, and too dangerous for any modern fleet to reach. The voice in the message was broken, full of fear. "Please, anyone. We are dying. No one can hear us." The Council ignored the signal. They said it was impossible to send help. No ship could survive the journey, not in that old part of space. But Leo sat inside the Resolute, thinking, maybe, just maybe, this ship could. Maybe that's why it was still here, still alive. His hands shook as he walked to the main console. He connected the last power core, closed his eyes, and pressed the ignition switch. For a few seconds, nothing. Then the lights blinked red, then blue, then steady white. The engines hummed, the control panel lit up, and a voice, deep and calm, echoed through the ship. "Commander 09 online." It said, "Pilot identified Leo Kess, civilian class. System scan complete, damage 74%, mission status unknown." Leo froze, heart pounding. "You're alive," he whispered. The voice replied, "I was waiting outside." Other workers saw the ship glow for the first time in a century. They laughed, shaking their heads. "Someone's wasting time fixing a dead thing," they said. But inside the ship, something old had awakened, something powerful, something ancient. The galaxy had forgotten the Resolute, but the Resolute hadn't forgotten the galaxy. It remembered war, fire, and honor. It remembered leading fleets, saving colonies, and facing death. Now, it had a pilot again, one who believed, and together they would answer the call that no one else would. Not because they were ready, but because they were the only ones who dared. The ship's voice echoed softly through the cold halls. Commander 09 online, it repeated. Leo sat in the captain's seat, his hands shaking slightly. The lights above him were old but steady. The air smelled like rust and old wires, but for the first time, the ship felt alive. Not like a machine, but like a sleeping warrior waking up after a long dream. I didn't mean to wake you, Leo whispered, unsure if the voice would reply again. But it did, calm and strong. You restored power. That is enough, Commander 09 said. You are now registered as acting pilot. Leo smiled, still not. Sure, if this was real, I'm not a soldier, he said. I failed the pilot academy. There was a pause. Then the ship answered, so did the first captain of this vessel. But history remembers her differently. Leo stood and looked. Around the dusty control room, why are you still here? He asked. Why weren't you recycled like the others? The ship's voice lowered, almost like it was remembering pain. Because I refused to shut down, it said. I locked myself away in the scrapyard before they could erase me. Leo blinked, surprised. You chose exile. I chose too. Remember, the AI replied. They wanted me to forget my crew, my mission, my failures, and my victories. I could not. Leo walked through the hallways of the Resolute that day. He explored the ship, step by step, with the lights flickering. To life behind him, he saw empty bunks, scratched walls, old nameplates, and silent weapon bays. This wasn't just a ship, was a tomb, a temple, and a teacher. And inside every corridor, he felt something strange, not fear, not sadness. He felt respect. Commander 09 guided him through each room. This was the medbay, the voice said. We saved 300 soldiers here during the Battle of Vorex. This was the bridge, it said later. Captain Mara stood here when she gave her final order. This was the mess hall, it added. Our crew sang on victory nights. Leo listened, quiet and careful. He started fixing more systems not because someone told him to, but because it felt right. Every bolt tightened, every screen repaired. Made the ship breathe easier. They were healing together at night. Leo would sleep on the old captain's bunk. He would dream of the stars and fire and voices shouting in victory. And each morning, Commander 09 would greet him like a friend. Good morning, Pilot Leo. Other workers noticed that the Resolute now glowed faint blue. Power was returning slowly, one system at a time, but they still laughed. Playing games with ghosts, they said. He's fixing a ship that belongs in a museum. But none of them understood what Leo felt. This ship had a soul. Then, one evening, Commander 09 said something strange. I have received a fragment of the distress call again. Leo sat up, alert. Play it, he said. The voice crackled through the speaker, broken and weak. We are losing light. There, inside the shield, we have no escape. This is Rixora Outpost. To any human ship, please help us. Leo stared at the console. No one's going, he said quietly. No one even believes this is real. Commander 09 paused, then spoke. I can go. Leo looked around. But you're not ready yet. Your systems are damaged, and the fuel? Cells, I will be ready in 5 days. Commander 09 replied. If you help me? Leo hesitated. But I'm not trained for this, he said. You are already doing more than many captains did, the AI replied. You care. Leo looked at the stars outside the small window. They were cold, far, and endless. But somewhere in that darkness, people were calling for help. And the Resolute was the only one who had heard them. Leo made a decision. He stood straight and said, Then let's get ready. Commander 09 responded. Affirmative, Pilot Leo. That night, Leo began working non-stop. He patched energy lines, replaced oxygen filters, refilled coolant tanks. He learned from the AI. Step by step, wire by wire, he wasn't just repairing a ship, he was becoming a commander. By the 5th day, the engines rumbled softly. By the 6th, the weapon system powered on. By the 7th, the ship was ready for flight. Old, slow, and battered, yes, but alive. And willing. They were no longer forgotten. They were no longer broken. They were a team. As Leo sat in the pilot's chair, he placed his hand on the control lever. "Set course for Rixora Outpost," he said. The ship replied with warmth in its voice. Course locked as the Resolute began to move. The scrapyard lights blinked. In shock, the forgotten ship was flying again, and the galaxy was about to remember the name Resolute. The stars looked quiet from the outside, but deep within the galaxy, something was waking. Something old, silent, and deadly. It lived in a dark part of space, known as the Shadow Nebula. No light escaped from it, no ships returned from it. Most star maps marked it as uncharted. Some even labeled it cursed. But far beyond the nebula's edge, a human outpost named Rixora was built. It was meant to study the shadows, to understand the silence. They had the best tech, the smartest minds, and strong defense systems, yet now they were the ones screaming for help. The Resolute moved through space slowly, her engines still humming like an old breath. Leo sat in the pilot's chair, watching the stars shift on the screen. He was focused, but nervous. Commander 09's voice broke the silence. "We are approaching the outer expanse." Leo swallowed. "How far until we reach Rixora?" 3 days, the ship replied, based on distress signal decay. Their systems may have already failed. Leo leaned back, so they could all be gone. Commander 09 paused. "It is possible." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, the ship added, "But hope is not based on odds. Pilot Leo, it is based on action." Leo smiled slightly. "That's something a human would say." "I was built by humans," Commander 09 replied. "I remember them as they moved closer to the nebula." Strange signals began hitting the ship's sensors. They were like whisper static, broken. Words, strange pulses, "They are trying to jam us," the AI said. "But they do not understand my systems. They are too old for their tricks." Leo looked at the monitor. "What are we up against?" The ship paused, then answered, "A race known only as the Drexel." The name sent a chill down Leo's spine. "I've never heard of them." "No one has in over 200 years, the ship said. "They were thought to be extinct." Commander 09 explained slowly. The Drexel were creatures of shadow and silence. They used void tech, a type of dark energy that corrupted ships, minds, and even stars. They didn't speak, didn't trade, didn't show mercy. They consumed, they erased, and now they had returned. Leo stood and paced the bridge. "Why Rixora? Why now?" The AI replied, "Because it is close to the Shadow Nebula's center. They may be guarding something." Suddenly, a red alarm blinked on the screen. Unidentified object approaching. Leo turned. From where? "Below us," the AI said. "They are using stealth technology." The Resolute adjusted her angle, turning slowly in space. A black ship, long and sharp like a blade, appeared through the shadows. No lights, no signal, no sound. "Drexel. Scout class," Commander 09 confirmed. "It has not detected us yet." Leo's heart pounded. "What do we do?" "We do what we were built for," the AI said. "We fight." The ship's old targeting systems came online, green lights blinking across the controls. Leo grabbed the weapons lever, still unsure, but ready. Target locked, fire, when. Ready, Leo pressed the trigger. A single missile launched, fast and quiet. It struck the Drexel ship in the center. A silent explosion rippled in the dark, like ink in water. The enemy ship vanished. "No debris," Leo said. No escape pod. Drexel, do not escape. The AI replied, they either win or disappear. Leo sat back, his hands shaking. That was my first battle. He whispered, you handled it well. The ship said calmly, but more will come. Over the next 2 days, they encountered more Drexel scouts. Each time, the Resolute fought. Like a seasoned warrior, each time Leo got faster, stronger. He began to understand the ship's systems as if they were part of him. Then, just outside the edge of the Shadow Nebula, they found it, a small cargo pod, floating alone, blinking a weak blue light. Life signs detected, the AI said. Leo pulled the pod into the ship's dock and opened it carefully. Inside was an alien girl, no older than 10. Her skin was pale, her eyes wide with fear. She clutched a human badge in her tiny hand. She looked at Leo and whispered, please, don't let them come again. Leo knelt beside her. You're safe now, he said gently. You're on a human ship. The girl looked at the walls, her voice trembling. You came. They said no one would come. Leo looked at the Resolutes. Walls, his voice soft. They were wrong. Commander 09 spoke in a firm tone. Pilot Leo, the child's memory has Drexel's ship codes. She may hold the key to finding their base. Leo nodded slowly. Then we protect her, he said. And we find the heart of this darkness. The Resolute turned toward the nebula. Its engines ready. The stars faded behind them. And ahead lay only shadow. But this old ship had fought in deeper voids. And now it carried hope once more. The Resolute emerged from the edge of the nebula, damaged but alive. Its old hull carried new scars, and its engines flickered like candles in the wind. Inside, Leo sat at the console, bruised and tired, beside him. The alien girl slept wrapped in a blanket, her tiny hands holding Leo's jacket tight. They had made it out, but they knew it was only the beginning. Commander 09's voice filled the bridge, steady as always, message prepared for Galactic Council command. Leo stood and stared at the blinking screen. It showed the Drexel scout ships, the Shadow Nebula's strange signals. And the rescued girl, send it, he said firmly. The message shot through the stars, encoded in human legacy code. No Drexel tech could jam it, not this one. Then they waited, drifting just outside neutral space. They waited for an answer from a galaxy that had chosen silence for far too long. 12 hours later, the response came, not from one world, but dozens. Screens flickered to life. Ambassadors, commanders, and leaders from across the galaxy appeared. But their faces didn't show thanks. They showed confusion, disbelief, and mocking smiles. Are you saying an obsolete human ship survived inside the Shadow Nebula? One alien ambassador asked, raising a brow. And that you were its pilot? Another one scoffed. I saw this ship in a museum file. Someone said, this is a joke. Leo clenched his fists, trying not to yell. He explained everything again, how the Drexel were back, how modern ships failed, how the Resolute withstood their dark tech. He told them about the girl, about the strange signal, about the code patterns in the nebula's heart. But they only laughed louder. Void creatures. A council member sneered. Stories for bedtime, scrapyard trash, can't save anyone. Another said, the ship belongs in a museum, not a battlefield. Commander 09 interrupted. This vessel has recorded proof of Drexel activity, confirmed by onboard AI sensors. But even the AI's voice was ignored. One alien scientist even joked that ship's brain is as outdated as its bolts. Leo stood tall, his voice clear. You're all making a mistake, he said. If you don't act, more outposts will fall. The Drexel will spread. But they waved him off. Then came the final words from the council chair. You do not have permission to enter any protected sector. You are ordered to return the vessel to scrapyard status immediately. If you continue your mission, you will be flying. Alone, the signal cut, the screens went black. The silence felt heavier than space itself. Leo sank into his chair, rubbing his face. They didn't believe a word, he muttered. I believe. The alien girl said softly behind him. Leo turned. Surprised, she looked up with big eyes. Still afraid, but stronger now. You came when no one else did, she whispered. That's enough. Commander 09 spoke gently. The galaxy has always mocked what it doesn't understand. But legends are not born in comfort, they are forged in doubt. Leo stared at the ship's control panel. Then we go alone, he said. We finish this without their help, Commander. 9 confirmed, coordinates of Drexel energy signatures locked. Warning, this route leads deep into restricted void zones. Leo grinned slightly. Perfect, as the Resolute prepared for launch. Rumors began to spread across nearby stations. A few workers who had seen the ship leave the scrapyard told their stories. They said the old ship had lit up like a comet, that it had roared through silence like thunder, that it had returned from a place no modern vessel dared to touch. At first, the galaxy laughed again. Some made funny news clips, calling Leo the junk pilot. Others said he was chasing ghosts for fame. But in the dark corners of the net, quiet voices started to grow. People who had lost family at Rixora. Engineers who believed in legacy ships, historians who remembered the Resolute's past. They watched, they whispered, what if he's right? In a small human colony on Vorn Prime, a retired war general saw the transmission. He paused, zoomed in on the ship's name, and whispered, she's flying again. In a classroom on a mining moon, a child raised her hand and asked, why won't they help the man in the old ship? Across the stars, people began to wonder, not because of Leo's words, but because of his actions. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't ask for medals. He just flew toward danger, toward truth, toward a shadow the galaxy refused to face, and deep in the heart of the Resolute. Commander 09 whispered one quiet sentence as they passed the last beacon. We are now outside Council space. Mission status, unknown, but spirit. Fully operational, together, and unwanted. Pilot and a forgotten ship entered the storm, and the legend had only just begun. The stars vanished the moment the Resolute entered the Shadow Nebula. Outside the ship's hull, there was no light, no color, no motion, just endless black. It was like falling into nothing. Even the ship's powerful lights could not cut through. The thick darkness, it swallowed beams whole, like a living creature. Leo sat in the pilot's chair, watching the screen turn to static. No signal, no stars, not even gravity readings, he whispered. Commander 09 answered calmly. This is the nature of the shadow. It bends light, folds energy, breaks logic. The alien girl stood nearby, holding a small pendant close to her chest. This is where they took my brother, she said softly. Leo looked at her, surprised. You didn't say you had a brother? She nodded, eyes filled with fear. I saw them drag him into the dark. His screams were cut off like the lights. Leo placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll find him, he said. She didn't answer, just stared into the dark beyond the glass as they moved deeper. The ship began to shake gently, not like it was hit but like it was being pulled. External forces detected, Commander 09 reported. Engaging magnetic anchor mode, the ship's engines shifted. Stabilizing their movement, old systems hummed to life, ones long forgotten by modern engineers. It was like the ship itself remembered this kind of space, as if it had danced with the dark before. Suddenly, the screen blinked. A single white dot appeared ahead. Leo narrowed his eyes. What's that? Commander 09 replied. A structure, Drexel, origin, unmarked, unknown purpose. The Resolute approached slowly, its weapons powered down to avoid detection. As they neared, the shape came into view. It was not a ship, not a base, it was a spire, a massive tower floating in the dark, made of black metal, twisting unnaturally. It didn't reflect light, drank it. Leo gasped. It's alive. The girl clutched his arm tightly. That's where they took him, she whispered. That place. It talks without sound. Commander 09 scanned the spire. No life signs, the AI said. But energy readings suggest a living core, a Drexel hive mind. Leo's voice hardened. Then we destroy it. But before they could act, alarms lit up the bridge. Drexel vessels inbound, Commander 09 warned. Leo looked at the screen. Ships were forming from the darkness itself. No engines, no sound, just sharp, shadow-shaped monsters flying fast. 10 ships, the AI counted. 20, now 30. They're multiplying. Leo gripped the weapons controls. Charge cannons. But Commander 09 answered, standard weapons ineffective. Leo turned. Then what do we use? The AI responded, there is a prototype buried in the ships. Lower deck, an ancient Terran device, void resonance cannon. Leo blinked. Why haven't you mentioned this before? Because it was banned, the AI replied, too unstable, too powerful. But now, we may need it. Leo raced to the lower deck, passing old rusted panels and locked doors. The cannon chamber was sealed, glowing with warning lights. He opened it with his ID key. The lock accepted him. Inside was a long tube of strange coils and black crystal. It pulsed like a heartbeat. He activated the cannon. Ignoring the shaking beneath his feet, back on the bridge, the Drexel ships were getting closer. One reached out with shadow tendrils, striking the Resolute's side. The ship groaned but held. Commander 09 announced. Void cannon ready, aiming at spire. Leo took a breath, his finger hovering over the trigger. The alien girl whispered, do it. He pressed the button. A beam of pure darkness fired from the ship, not light, but absence. It tore through space like a scream. It hit the spire dead center. The spire cracked, then screamed, not with sound, but with vibrations that shook the soul. Leo fell to his knees, clutching his head. The girl screamed too, holding her ears. Then, silence. The Drexel ships froze, then vanished, melting into smoke. The spire shattered slowly, breaking into dust that drifted away like ash. Commander 09 reported, target eliminated. Drexel presence fading. Leo stood up, heart pounding. He looked at the girl. She was crying, not from pain, but from relief. He's gone, she whispered, my brother's voice. It faded when the spire died. Leo didn't know what to say. He just nodded, then looked out into the fading dark. Commander 09 said softly, they know we are here now. They will not forget us. Leo nodded. Good, he said, because we're not done yet. The Resolute turned deeper into the nebula. Engines glowing brighter. Behind them, the galaxy still laughed. But ahead, new enemies, new truths, new battles waited. And now, the old ship had proven one thing. It still had fire left. The darkness behind the Resolute began to fade, but the silence did not bring peace. Something was wrong. The spire had fallen. The Drexel had vanished, yet the ship's sensors lit up red. Commander 09's voice echoed through the bridge, calm but firm, multiple contacts detected. Leo sat forward. How many? 62 and rising, the AI replied. Estimated time to engagement, 2 minutes. Leo stood up, looking at the alien girl who sat quietly beside the console. She hugged her knees, eyes wide with fear, but not panic. I'll get us through this, he said to her. She nodded. No words left to give. The screen showed strange shapes forming in the distance. Not Drexel scouts this time. These were warships, larger than battleships. Shaped like thorns and blades, they didn't move like machines. They floated like they were alive. Pulsing with energy from a black heart, Commander 09 began listing enemy specs. Drexel cruiser-class vessels, void plating, high-speed phase jump capability, estimated firepower 6 times greater than ours. Leo exhaled. So we're outgunned. Yes, the ship replied, but not outmatched. The Resolute adjusted course, diving into a dense asteroid field hidden inside the nebula. Commander 09 explained quickly, they won't risk full pursuit inside unstable rock formations. We use the terrain to fight. Leo activated the defense systems. Old turrets rising from the ship's wings. They hissed as they powered up, rattling from years of dust, but one by one. They locked into place, system green. The ship confirmed. Then came the first strike. A blast of dark energy sliced past the ship's hull, grazing its side. The Resolute trembled, sparks flying from a nearby wall. The girl screamed and covered her ears. Leo ran to her, pulling her behind the main console. It's okay, he said. Stay here. Commander 09 continued to move the ship like a dancer in storm, dodging blasts, twisting between rock shards, leading the Drexel into narrow passages. But more and more kept coming. It was a swarm. They want us gone, Leo said, sweat on his brow. They fear what we know, the AI replied. Then let's give them more to fear. Leo activated the old gravity mines, once banned for tearing ships apart in chaotic folds. He dropped them as they passed tight asteroid tunnels. 3 Drexel ships followed, only one came out, spinning and broken. Next, he triggered the flare cannons. Blinding heat lights that disrupted void sensors, the Drexel fired blindly, hitting each other in the chaos. The girl peeked from behind the console, her eyes full of amazement. You're winning, she whispered. Not yet, Leo said. We're surviving then. The largest ship appeared. It was double the size of the Resolute, with a long spiked body and glowing red center. Commander 09's voice changed. He recognized it. This is the Drexel command vessel, the one that ended the Battle of Yerevan centuries ago. Leo stared at it on the screen. Then it's time to end something else. The command ship charged its main cannon. A ripple moved through space like a wave, pulling asteroids toward it. If it fired, they would be torn apart. Commander 09 spoke fast. We must use the warp cannon. Leo hesitated, but it's unstable. It was built for this moment. The AI replied. Do you trust me? Leo took a breath, then nodded. Do it. The warp cannon unfolded from the belly of the Resolute. It shook as it powered up. Glowing with ancient blue light that pierced the black, the Drexel command ship turned to face them directly. Its cannon began charging, crackling with dark lightning. Leo gripped the trigger. He saw flashes of past captains in his mind. Mara, Jameson, Sinclair, all those who flew this ship before him. He wasn't a soldier, wasn't a hero. He was just a mechanic, but this ship didn't need a perfect pilot. It needed someone who believed. Fire, he said. The warp cannon screamed. A twisting beam of folded space launched from the ship. It collided with the Drexel flagship a moment before its own weapon could fire. There was no explosion. There was silence. Then, like a hole being sealed, the Drexel command ship folded in on itself and vanished. The other ships around it stopped, flickered, then shattered like glass. The nebula fell quiet. Only the hum of the Resolute remained. Leo slumped in his chair, exhausted. The girl ran up and hugged him, shaking. You did it, she said. No. He replied, holding her tight. We did it. Commander 09's voice returned. Enemy fleet destroyed. System damage manageable. Pilot status legendary. Leo chuckled weakly. Let's go home. The Resolute turned slowly, heading back toward the stars. A forgotten ship and a rejected pilot had defeated what the galaxy refused to face. The battle was over, but the legend was just beginning. The Resolute drifted into open space. Leaving behind the wreckage of the Drexel fleet, the Shadow Nebula was no longer quiet, was broken. Shattered by war, the darkness still stretched across the stars, but it no longer hid monsters. It now held echoes of a battle that no one believed was possible. Leo sat in the pilot's chair, his hands resting softly on the controls. His face was tired, scratched, but his eyes still burned with purpose. Commander 09 spoke gently. Navigation complete. We are on course to return to Galactic Council space. Behind him, the alien girl looked out through the glass. She whispered, "They'll never believe us." Leo smiled, then let them come see. The journey back took days, but no longer felt lonely. Messages began to pour into the Resolutes. Systems ships from nearby colonies had seen the battle from far away. A few brave pilots had followed at a distance. They sent words like "thank you" and "unbelievable." Some even sent old photos of the Resolute from the War Museum archives. Leo read each one with quiet respect. "I guess they're starting to remember," he said. Commander 09 answered, "Memories are slow, but truth travels faster when they reach Council space." They didn't ask for permission to land. They came in proud and bold. The way legends return from the pages of history, every major channel broadcasts the sight of the old ship, scarred but flying. Reporters shouted, "That's the Resolute." Crowds gathered at every viewing platform, staring in silence. Then came the official welcome. Council guards escorted Leo, the girl, and Commander 09's mobile core into the main chamber. The same leaders who once laughed now stood speechless. Some tried to smile, others lowered their eyes, but no one said the word obsolete again. Council Chairwoman Vetra stepped forward. She cleared her throat, her voice trembling a little. "Leo Kess, acting captain of the Human Warship Resolute. You defied orders, crossed the void, and faced a forgotten enemy you brought back proof, saved a survivor, and destroyed a threat no one else dared to face." Leo didn't speak. He only reached into his pocket and placed a small memory chip on the table. "It's all here," he said. "Let the truth speak for itself." Vetra took the chip, but then looked at the girl beside him. "Child," she said gently, "what is your name?" The girl stepped forward slowly. "My name is Sira," she said. "And this man saved me when no one else came." The room went still. Some diplomats wiped their eyes. Others clapped slowly. But the applause grew louder. It filled the hall. It echoed across screens, planets, and hearts. That evening, special message was sent across the galaxy. It showed Leo standing beside the Resolute. Behind him, children waved Terran flags. Sira stood proudly in front. Wearing a flight jacket 2 sizes too big, the message said it was called obsolete. But it became a legend. The Resolute flies again, and so does hope. Memorials were changed. The Resolute was no longer just a ship, became a symbol. Schools taught its story. Artists painted its return. Engineers studied its systems, trying to learn the strength of old human design, and Leo, once a failed pilot and forgotten worker, was now a hero, but he refused medals. Refused fame. Instead, he returned to Gravemind Station. Not to hide, but to rebuild. He walked through the scrapyard with Sira at his side. Together, they searched for other forgotten ships. He smiled, tapping the rust of an old hull. "Let's see who else they gave up on." Commander 09's voice came from a small device on Leo's belt. "I've scanned 29 vessels with repair potential." Leo laughed. "Then we better get to work." He didn't want to command a fleet. He wanted to inspire one, 'cause he had learned something the galaxy had forgotten. Ships don't become legends because of how new they are. They become legends when someone believes in them, and pilots. They don't become heroes because of bloodlines or perfect grades. They become heroes when they step forward, even if their hands are shaking. As the sun set across Gravemind Station, one more ship powered up, its lights flickered, its engine coughed, but beside it stood Leo, the pilot of the past, building the future. And somewhere in the stars, the name Resolute floated forever, not as junk, not as a mistake, but as a legend.